Sundar Pichai was a young man from a small city called Chennai in India. He was not like many others around him. He was quiet, thoughtful, and always kept to himself. Sundar loved to study and learn new things. Since he was a child, he had a big interest in science and technology. He did very well in school, and many people said he was very smart. But Sundar was not the kind of person who liked to talk a lot or be the center of attention. He preferred to listen and think quietly. When Sundar got the chance to study at one of the best engineering schools in India, the Indian Institute of Technology Kharagpur, IIT Kharagpur, it was a dream come true for him and his family. IIT Kharagpur was a place where only the smartest students from all over India could study. It was very competitive to get there, and many students felt proud just to be admitted. Sundar was one of those students, but even among the best, he stood out because of his calm and humble nature. At IIT Kharagpur, students not only studied hard but also enjoyed many cultural activities. Every year the college organized big events like concerts, plays, and talent shows. These were fun times when students could relax, show their hidden talents, and enjoy with friends. Sundar was not very interested in these activities at first. He was more focused on his studies and often stayed in the library or his room reading books. One evening, during the first semester of his course, there was a big concert event happening on campus. Many students gathered in the auditorium, excited to watch their friends perform. There were singers, dancers, and even comedians who made the crowd laugh. The energy was high, and everyone was having a good time. Sundar decided to come and watch because some of his classmates invited him. Although he was shy, he thought it might be nice to take a break from studying and enjoy the music. As Sundar entered the auditorium, many people noticed him. He looked different from most of the other students. He wore simple clothes, not flashy or trendy like many others. His accent was also a little different when he spoke English, which some students found unusual. Sundar did not mind this. He was comfortable being himself and never tried to change to fit in. The concert was going well, with loud music and cheers from the audience. Suddenly, the organizers announced a surprise segment. They said that a few students who were not originally scheduled would get a chance to perform something on stage. To everyone's surprise, Sundar's name was called. The crowd was shocked. Many people whispered to each other and some even laughed quietly. "Sundar? What can he do on stage?" some asked. Sundar felt his heart beat faster. He was not ready for this. He did not prepare any song or dance or joke. He was only there to watch. But now, all eyes were on him. He slowly got up from his seat and walked towards the stage. Some students in the audience started laughing out loud. They made fun of him because he looked so calm and serious, not like someone who would entertain a crowd. As he stepped onto the stage, the laughter grew louder. People shouted funny things like, "Show us some dance moves, Sundar," and "Where's your guitar?" Sundar tried to smile, but inside he felt nervous. He held a small notebook in his hands, which he had brought from his room. No one knew what was inside it. The audience expected something boring or awkward from the quiet engineering student. The lights shone brightly on Sundar as he stood there, facing hundreds of students who were waiting to see what he would do next. The room was filled with loud voices and laughter. Sundar took a deep breath. He looked around the room and saw many faces filled with curiosity, surprise, and some with doubt. Many students whispered, "He won't be able to do anything." Some even called out jokes, making fun of Sundar's accent and simple clothes. But Sundar did not feel angry or sad. He stayed calm and focused. He opened his notebook carefully and began to speak. At first, his voice was soft and unsure, but as he continued, he became more confident. He was not there to sing or dance, but to share something from his heart. Sundar started telling a story about his childhood, growing up in Chennai, without many of the things others had. He spoke about how he used to watch and learn from people around him, how he loved listening to stories, and how his quiet nature helped him understand things better. His words were simple but full of meaning. He talked about the struggles his family faced, the importance of education, and how he always dreamed of making a difference in the world. Sundar's story was not just about himself, but about many young people who feel different and are often misunderstood. As he spoke, the laughter slowly stopped. The crowd grew quiet, listening carefully. Sundar's honesty and courage touched everyone. For the first time that evening, people saw a new side of him. Not the shy student they had laughed at, but a thoughtful person with a powerful message. The atmosphere in the auditorium changed completely. What had started as a night of fun and jokes turned into a moment of reflection and respect. Sundar's story made the students think about their own lives and the judgments they make about others. By the time Sundar finished, there was a moment of silence. Then, one by one, students began to applaud. The applause grew louder and louder until the entire room was clapping and cheering for Sundar. Many students stood up and smiled, showing their appreciation. That night, Sundar Pichai learned an important lesson. Sometimes when people expect the worst from you, you can surprise them by being true to yourself and sharing your story. He realized that strength does not always come from being loud or flashy, but from being honest and brave. This moment at the concert was just the beginning of Sundar's journey. Though small and quiet, it was a powerful reminder that everyone has a voice that deserves to be heard. Sundar's courage to stand up and speak inspired many students that night, and it marked the start of something much bigger in his life. As Sundar stepped onto the stage holding his notebook, the atmosphere in the auditorium was electric, but not in a good way. The crowd was full of students who had gathered to enjoy a night of music, laughter, and celebration. Now, suddenly, all attention was on Sundar, a quiet, modest boy who hardly ever spoke loudly or showed much expression. Many in the crowd didn't know what to expect from him, and their guesses were mostly not kind. The first thing that hit Sundar was the laughter. It wasn't soft or polite, it was loud and sharp. Some students were openly mocking him. "What is he going to do? Read us a boring engineering book?" shouted one voice. Others laughed along, pointing fingers and whispering jokes. A few students shouted, "Teach us calculus, Sundar!" as if he was just some textbook walking onto the stage. Sundar stood there for a moment, feeling the heat of all those eyes and the weight of the laughter. His heart pounded loudly in his chest, but he did not turn back or try to run off the stage. He had come too far to be scared now. He knew he had to face this moment no matter how uncomfortable it was. Many of the students didn't understand Sundar. They saw only a quiet boy, dressed simply with a thick accent when he spoke English. In a place like IIT Kharagpur, where many students came from wealthy families or big cities, Sundar's modest background and shy manner made him an easy target for teasing. The students who laughed thought it was all in good fun. They didn't realize how deep their words might cut. The laughter grew louder and more relentless. Someone in the crowd called out, "Come on, Sundar, do something. We're waiting." Another voice added, "Maybe he'll surprise us with a math joke." But the crowd's tone was mocking, not friendly. They expected Sundar to fail or embarrass himself. Despite the noise, Sundar held onto his notebook tightly. It was the only thing he had prepared for this moment, though no one knew what was inside it. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes stayed calm and focused. He wasn't going to let their laughter stop him. Some students in the audience tried to shout him down, making loud noises to drown out whatever he might say. Others were still laughing and whispering jokes among themselves. It felt like the entire room was against him. Sundar knew this wasn't going to be easy. As he stood on the stage, the tension in the room built up. The laughter began to turn into restless shouting. "What's he waiting for?" someone yelled. "Is he going to speak or just stand there?" Another student shouted, "Maybe he's lost for words." Sundar took a deep breath. He looked around the room one last time before opening his notebook. In that moment, the laughter seemed to become even louder, as if everyone was waiting to see if he would embarrass himself. The students thought this would be a quick joke, something to laugh at and forget by the end of the night. But Sundar was calm. He began to speak quietly at first, so soft that many students didn't hear him. Clearly, he told a story, not about engineering or exams, but about his childhood. He spoke about growing up in a place where phones and computers were not common. How, as a child, he learned to observe the world quietly, listening to people around him, and noticing details others missed. The story was simple, but honest. He talked about how his family didn't have much money but always believed in education, how his parents encouraged him to dream big, even when life was difficult. Sundar's words were full of hope and humility, and he told them with a quiet strength that surprised many. As he spoke, something started to change in the room. The laughter that had been so loud and harsh began to fade. People stopped whispering and calling out jokes. The students leaned forward in their seats, curious to hear more. The jokes and mocking voices slowly disappeared. The silence grew stronger as Sundar continued. His story connected with many of the students, reminding them of their own struggles and hopes. Even those who had laughed at him before started to see him in a new light. They realized he was not just a shy boy but someone with courage and wisdom. Sundar's voice grew firmer as he shared his thoughts about life, learning, and dreams. He spoke about how being quiet did not mean being weak, how sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who listen carefully and think deeply before they speak. By the time Sundar finished the first part of his story, the entire room was silent. No one laughed or talked. The mocking students looked at each other, surprised by the change. They had expected to see a nervous boy fail, but instead they saw a young man telling a story that touched their hearts. Sundar closed his notebook and smiled softly. The silence lasted for a moment before the room slowly began to applaud. The applause was not loud or wild, but it was real. Students clapped and nodded, showing their respect. Some whispered, "I didn't expect that." Others said, "He's got something special." That night, the mockery that Sundar faced turned into quiet admiration. The students who had laughed learned an important lesson. Never judge someone by their silence or simple appearance. Sundar's courage to stand on that stage, face the laughter, and share his story changed how many people saw him. The experience was not easy for Sundar, but it made him stronger. He understood that sometimes people judge before they listen, but with patience and honesty, he could change their minds. That night was a test of his character, a test he passed with quiet dignity. In the days and weeks that followed, Sundar's story from the concert spread quietly through the campus. Many students who had doubted him began to approach him with new respect. Some asked questions about his life and dreams. Others told him they were inspired by his courage. Sundar didn't seek attention or praise. He continued to study hard and work quietly on his goals. But that moment on the stage stayed with him. A reminder that strength is not always loud, and respect can come from the most unexpected places. The mockery at the concert was a difficult moment, but it was also the beginning of Sundar's journey toward becoming a leader who would one day inspire millions. It showed that even in the face of doubt and laughter, belief in oneself and the courage to speak can make the entire room go silent. As the laughter died down and the murmurs faded, a strange calm fell over the auditorium. Sundar Pichai, holding his small notebook, felt a mixture of nerves and determination. The eyes of hundreds of students were fixed on him. Some still whispered, wondering what this quiet, simple boy would say next. Others sat back, curious and unsure. The energy in the room had shifted. It was no longer about teasing or mocking. It was a moment filled with anticipation. Sundar took a deep breath and started speaking again. But this time, he didn't just speak softly. his voice gained strength and clarity. He was no longer just the shy student on stage. He became a storyteller, and his story was unlike anything the audience expected. He began by sharing memories from his childhood in Chennai, but instead of the usual stories about success or failure, he talked about the small things, the things that shaped who he was. He told them about how his family didn't have many modern conveniences. There was no telephone at home when he was young, no fancy gadgets. Instead, his family had something more important: warmth, support, and dreams. He painted a picture of a young boy sitting by a window, watching the world outside quietly. He described how, as a child, he learned to observe people carefully. He noticed their gestures, their moods, the way they talked to each other. Without many toys or distractions, he found joy in listening and learning from those around him. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. Sundar's story was simple, but it was full of honesty and heart. He didn't try to impress with big words or complicated ideas. He spoke from his experience, and that made it real. As he continued, Sundar shared how this quiet observation helped him in school. When others talked loudly or showed off, he was often the one who listened and understood better. His teachers noticed his thoughtful nature. They said he had a unique ability to solve problems because he thought carefully before acting. Sundar explained that growing up without many material things taught him to value knowledge and hard work more than anything else. He believed that education was a way to change his life and the lives of others. This belief gave him strength even when things were tough. He told the crowd about his parents, who worked hard to support the family. They did not have much, but they always encouraged Sundar to dream big and study hard. Their faith in him was a powerful motivation. Sundar spoke about how their sacrifices inspired him to keep moving forward, even when life was difficult. The audience started to see a new side of Sundar. The boy who had been laughed at was now a young man with a clear purpose and deep values. His words were simple but powerful, and they made the students think about their own lives. Sundar also talked about how being different made him feel sometimes. He admitted that he often felt out of place because he was quiet and didn't join in the loud conversations or jokes. But instead of being discouraged, he learned to accept himself and use his strengths. He said, "Sometimes the quietest person in the room is watching and learning more than anyone else." This idea resonated with many in the audience who might have felt the same way. Then Sundar shared a little humor. He smiled and said, "I may not dance or sing like the others, but I can tell a story. And maybe that's my way of performing." The crowd chuckled softly, the mood lightening but respectful. Sundar's story was more than just words. It was a message of hope, courage, and self-acceptance. It was about how being true to oneself can be the greatest strength. The students realized that Sundar's quietness was not weakness, but a different kind of power. As he spoke, the nervousness in Sundar's voice disappeared. He stood taller, made eye contact with the audience, and shared his thoughts with confidence. His story connected deeply with many students, who saw a reflection of their own fears and dreams in his words. The room grew completely silent again when Sundar paused to take a breath. It was a silence filled with respect, not awkwardness. Everyone was waiting, wanting to hear more. Sundar took that moment to tell the final part of his story, a lesson he had learned. He said, "Life will not always be easy. People will judge you before they know you. But if you keep learning, keep growing, and stay true to yourself, you can overcome anything." The students listened carefully, some nodding slowly. They understood the truth in his words. It was a lesson not only for Sundar, but for all of them. When Sundar finished, there was a long pause. No one moved or spoke. Then, slowly, hands began to clap. One by one, the applause grew louder until the whole auditorium was filled with cheers and clapping. Some students stood up and shouted words of praise. Others smiled warmly at Sundar. Even those who had laughed at him before looked surprised and proud. Sundar smiled quietly, feeling a warm glow inside. The room had gone silent at first, but now it was filled with respect and admiration. He had turned the mockery into a moment of triumph. That night, Sundar learned something very important. He understood that sometimes people need to see who you really are before they believe in you. And sometimes you have to be brave enough to show them. This moment on stage was not just a story. It was a turning point. It was the first time Sundar realized that his quiet voice could carry a powerful message. He had faced the laughter and won the respect of hundreds of students. As the applause continued, Sundar looked out at the crowd and felt a sense of belonging. For the first time, he felt accepted not just for what he could do, but for who he was. This night marked the beginning of a new chapter in Sundar's life, a chapter where he would continue to grow, lead, and inspire others. The students who heard his story would remember this moment for a long time. They would tell their friends about the shy boy who stood on stage, faced laughter, and made the whole room go silent. They would say how Sundar Pichai showed them that true strength comes from honesty, courage, and the willingness to be yourself. And Sundar? He knew that this was just the start. Many challenges and opportunities lay ahead. But with this moment in his heart, he was ready to face anything. After the concert, something inside Sundar Pichai began to change. He had always been a quiet and hard-working student, focused on his studies and dreaming about the future. But now, after standing on that stage and sharing his story, he felt something new, a growing confidence and a sense of purpose that went beyond books and exams. The applause and respect from that night stayed with him. It was not just about being noticed. It was about understanding that his voice mattered. For the first time, Sundar saw that being himself, with all his quiet strengths and honest stories, could inspire others. This feeling gave him energy and hope. In the days that followed, life on campus returned to normal. Classes continued, exams were scheduled, and students worked hard. But Sundar noticed subtle changes in how people treated him. The laughter and teasing were gone. Instead, there were nods of respect and smiles from classmates who had once doubted him. Some students approached him to talk about his story. They shared their own experiences of feeling different or quiet. They asked questions about his childhood and his dreams. Sundar listened carefully, offering words of encouragement. He realized that his story had connected with many others who felt shy or unsure. At the same time, Sundar knew that this was only the beginning. Life was full of challenges, and his journey was far from easy. He was still a student with big dreams, but limited resources. His family back home did not have much money, and he knew that every step forward required hard work and sacrifice. Sundar returned to his studies with renewed focus. He spent long hours in the library studying engineering and learning about new technologies. But now he also made time to participate in group projects and discussions. He began to speak more in class, sharing his ideas and solutions. His professors noticed the change too. They saw a student who was not only intelligent, but also confident and thoughtful. Sundar started to earn scholarships and awards for his academic performance. These achievements helped reduce the financial burden on his family and gave him more opportunities. One of the biggest challenges Sundar faced was balancing his academic work with social interactions. Being naturally introverted, he found it difficult to join in large groups or noisy celebrations. But he understood that building relationships and networking were important for his future. Slowly, Sundar began to step out of his comfort zone. He joined student clubs related to technology and innovation. He volunteered to help organize events and workshops. Through these activities, he met people from different backgrounds and learned how to communicate better. Despite these efforts, Sundar never tried to change who he was. He remained humble, kind, and respectful to everyone. His classmates admired this quality. They saw that Sundar was genuine, not pretending to be someone else just to fit in. As his final years at IIT approached, Sundar started thinking about the future. He dreamed of working in a company where he could use his skills to solve real problems. He wanted to make technology accessible to everyone, not just a few privileged people. With this goal in mind, Sundar applied to graduate schools in the United States. He knew that studying abroad would be expensive and challenging, but he was determined. He worked hard on his applications, writing essays that told his story and explained his vision. The day he received the acceptance letter from Stanford University was one of the happiest moments of his life. Stanford was one of the world's top universities, and getting accepted there was a huge achievement. It meant new opportunities, new challenges, and a chance to grow even more. Moving to the United States was not easy. Sundar faced cultural differences, homesickness, and the pressure of living in a new country. But he embraced these challenges with the same quiet determination that had carried him so far. At Stanford, Sundar met students from all over the world. He learned new ideas, explored different fields, and gained valuable experience. He worked on projects that combined technology with social impact, deepening his desire to create tools that help people. Throughout this journey, Sundar never forgot where he came from. He stayed connected with his family and friends in India. He remembered the struggles and the support that had shaped him. As he grew academically and personally, Sundar's story began to inspire many others. People admired his humility, his intelligence, and his commitment to making a difference. His success was proof that even quiet, humble beginnings could lead to great achievements. Sundar's path was still full of obstacles, but he faced each one with patience and courage. He knew that success was not just about talent, but about persistence and staying true to one's values. Looking back, Sundar understood that the night of the concert was a turning point. It had taught him that respect and belief come not from appearances or loudness, but from honesty and bravery. That lesson stayed with him through every step of his journey. Today, Sundar Pichai is a symbol of what can happen when someone believes in themselves and works hard. His story reminds us that everyone has a voice worth hearing, and sometimes the quietest people have the most powerful stories to tell. After completing his studies at Stanford University, Sundar Pichai's journey was just beginning. He was no longer the shy boy from Chennai who had once been laughed at during a college concert. Now he was a young man full of hope, knowledge, and determination to make a difference in the world through technology. When Sundar finished his studies, he was ready to step into the professional world. His strong academic background and unique experiences gave him an advantage, but he knew that the real challenge was yet to come. It was one thing to be a student excelling in school. It was another to succeed in the fast, competitive world of technology companies. Sundar started his career at Google, one of the biggest technology companies in the world. From the very beginning, he focused on solving problems and improving products. His natural talent for understanding complex technology, combined with his ability to communicate clearly, made him stand out. At Google, Sundar worked on many important projects. One of his early successes was helping develop the Google Chrome browser, which soon became one of the most popular web browsers worldwide. This achievement was a big deal because it showed that Sundar could not only contribute, but also lead important innovations. Despite his success, Sundar remained humble and approachable. He did not seek to be the loudest voice in the room. Instead, he listened carefully to others, encouraged teamwork, and always put the user's needs first. These qualities earned him respect from colleagues and leaders alike. As Sundar took on more responsibilities, he faced new challenges. Managing large teams, making tough decisions, and guiding projects that affected millions of people were not easy tasks. But Sundar's calm and thoughtful approach helped him navigate these challenges effectively. His leadership style was different from many others. Instead of giving orders, Sundar believed in inspiring and supporting his team. He valued collaboration, and believed that great ideas could come from anyone, regardless of their position. This mindset created a positive and creative work environment. Sundar's ability to balance technical knowledge with emotional intelligence made him a great leader. He understood the importance of listening, empathy, and clear communication. These skills helped him build strong relationships within the company and with partners around the world. Over the years, Sundar's responsibilities grew. He took charge of major products like Android, Google's mobile operating system, which is used by billions of people globally. Under his guidance, Android continued to improve and expand, making smartphones accessible to more people everywhere. Sundar's journey from a quiet, humble student to a global technology leader was inspiring to many. It showed that success is not about being loud or aggressive, but about being patient, kind, and determined. His story encouraged young people everywhere to believe in themselves and work hard toward their dreams. One of the most remarkable moments in Sundar's career came when he was appointed the CEO of Google. This role made him responsible for guiding the company's vision and strategy, overseeing thousands of employees, and making decisions that could shape the future of technology. As CEO, Sundar faced huge challenges. Google was competing with other technology giants, dealing with complex issues like privacy, security, and artificial intelligence. These were not easy problems, but Sundar approached them with the same calm and thoughtful mindset he had always shown. He focused on innovation, ethics, and user experience. Sundar believed that technology should serve people, making their lives easier and better. Under his leadership, Google launched many new products and initiatives that aimed to do just that. Even as a CEO, Sundar remained humble and approachable. He often spoke about his childhood, his family, and the values that shaped him. He emphasized the importance of education, hard work, and kindness. These messages resonated with employees and the public alike. Sundar's story also inspired many people beyond the technology world. He became a symbol of how someone from a modest background, who faced laughter and doubt, could rise to lead one of the most influential companies on the planet. His journey was a powerful reminder that success comes from believing in oneself, being patient through hardships, and always staying true to one's values. Sundar never forgot the lessons from that night at the concert when the room went silent. That moment had taught him that respect is earned through courage and honesty. Today, Sundar Pichai continues to lead with integrity and vision. He uses his position to promote diversity, inclusion, and innovation. He encourages young people around the world to dream big and work hard, no matter where they come from. His life story is not just about technology or business. It is about the power of resilience, humility, and hope. It reminds us that no matter how quiet or different someone may seem, they can achieve greatness and inspire others. Sundar Pichai's journey from a boy laughed at on a stage to the CEO of Google is a true real-life story of perseverance and success. It teaches us that every challenge is an opportunity, every failure a lesson, and every voice, no matter how soft, has the power to change the world.